Welcome to the Whoa podcast about horses and horsemanship. I'm John Hare, and you found the place where we talk horses. Well, in last week's episode, I said if the good Lord wanted me to do a podcast, he'd make it rain. And for the last 2 days, we've gotten some rain. So, like I promised, I'm doing a podcast. I'm here with Domenico Sumonte. Did I say that right, Domenico?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Perfect. Domenico is a local trainer here in Bakersfield, and I wanted to talk to him because I really love talking to local trainers because they're the guys with boots on the ground, so to speak. First of all, Domenico, how did you get your start in horses?
Well, I grew up in a farm, in a ranch in South America, you know. My grandfather used to have a little ranch where they work with horses. They have a tractor, but sometimes they plow the land with the horses and use horses to work a little bit of the cattle and all that kind of work. So that's, my memories go back to that particular time.
Go which country?
Chile.
Chile.
It's next to Argentina.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's where I was born.
And how did you learn about horses and horsemanship? Was it all by experience, or did your dad?
Well, a little bit of both. I learned, at an early age, certain things. It was a lot for fun. But little by little, I got interested in... When I admired people that really did amazing things with the horses, but I wasn't particular. It was later in life that I became more interested in becoming professional on this, which I am in my quest to. I consider myself somebody that is on the quest to become the best horseman that he can be personally for me, more than a trainer itself.
Right.
But, that is how I approach it, that the horse can teach me a lot and I can be a good student of the horse.
What kind of things did you do with horses in Chile then?
Well, in Chile, we used to do quite a few things. We used to swim with horses, which we really like, and rivers and little streams and lakes. Then we race horses too, in match races, 200-300 yards. There is a local sport that the country has, which is called the local rodeo, that they call it, which is you are in a half a moon type of arena, and somebody is pushing a cow or herding a cow against the wall, and the other rider, is keeping it on the wall until there is an area where you have to stop the cow against the wall and then come back and switch places. That's what they call it, the local rodeo in Chile. That's one of the... So I did a little bit of that, but it was a lot, and going out on the trail, going up to the mountain, catching some horses that were turned loose, mesteños, as they call it here in the United States, the Mustang, the
Right.
Mesteño is a horse that you might breed loose up in the mountain, and once a year you go and get, what you pick, the yearlings, and bring them down the mountain, and then you train them. So those are basically the stuff that I did with horses before I moved to Spain, because my mother is Spanish ancestry through my grandfather being Spanish. So I moved at a young age to Spain.
What kind of horses were there in Chile?
In Chile, they had developed a horse that come from the Spanish, that the stock that the Spanish brought back, in the 1500s, and they call it the Chilean horse or the Chilean corralero by working in the corrals, which is the one that they do, the sport, the rodeo that they do.
Right.
I was inquiring more about it and reading more about it, and it's the oldest registry in the whole American continent. And so they've been preserving and breeding those horses for quite a few centuries. And it's a good cow horse for what they do. It's not a big horse, most of them are between 14 and 14.2, 14.3 at the most, so it's not a tall horse, but it's the old Spanish Andalusian that they bred that way in that particular country. You find in Argentina the criollo that they breed and they make it a little bit bigger for what they do. So it accommodates to whatever sport they do.
So then, what age were you when you moved to Spain?
I was about 20 years old when I moved to Spain. You know, and Spain has a big tradition with horses. You know, I wish I could have done more in Spain with horses, but I was into other things. You know, motorcycles, which was it was the horse with two wheels that
much more exciting for a 20-year-old.
Allowed me to go in quite a few countries in Europe on my motorcycle in the summers. You know, so that was beautiful. Looking back, you know, I witnessed quite a few things, you know, with horses, especially, particularly in Spain and some parts in the south part of France. You know, that people, I consider that they're very good horsemen too. You know, the south part of France, the French.
And when did you really decide you wanted to be a horse trainer?
Well, you know, like I said before, you know, I don't consider myself as a horse trainer, though that's what I do. But I consider more of a horseman because I feel that a horseman, being the word in English, you know, the half is horse and the other half is man, is a more complete and embodies for me to become, you know, almost a half horse, so I can read that horse, I can feel that horse, and I can do with that horse the most that I am capable of every day, I hope.
Okay, and then what time in your life did you decide, I really want to start focusing on the horse and my relationship?
It came later for me in my life, you know. It was after I turned 40.
Oh, really?
You know, yeah. That I decided, you know, this is one of the things that I was putting it off for a while, you know, and I still have other interests, but definitely, you know, for me, I think the most important thing about horse training, or in this case a horseman, is that I feel that it makes me a better person. So if I can be better for the horse, I'll be better for my fellow humans, and that to me is the core of my life, you know.
Good.
You know, to become a better human.
Right.
I cannot think who in the world will not want that.
Exactly.
You know, whatever is the embodiment in anybody's words of becoming a better human to ourselves and indirectly to whoever is around you. You know?
Right. Where did you pick up your horsemanship knowledge?
I learned some in Chile, and then some in Spain, and then I continue learning here in the United States. And coming to the United States, I fell in love with the West, you know.
Right.
Of course, there are movies, but I always was, you know, reading about it. And there is something about this nation that made me want to come, you know, to study and then to stay here.
Did you have trainers you worked for?
No, I haven't had trainers that I work for. I've been, you know, watching some clinics and reading books, and then riding a lot and focusing a lot of riding in my own, taking horses on the trail, and then finding place where you can work the horse, even when you are not in an arena, but you find out in the country a place in the open where you will work with horse and keep traveling. Sometimes I would take a horse in a trip by 3 days and work with the horse for 3 days.
Right.
And then come back, things like that, and writing notes about what I had. Now we have the commodity of having the phone that you can watch things, or you can watch an interview, or you can trying it out, and then your own awareness too. I think is very important, you know, to have teachers, but also to be aware of how your skills are becoming better, especially in sensing the horse. The skills are very important because that's what you achieve. But for that, you got to have the knowledge of the horse. Otherwise, you will not be able to apply those skills, I believe. So why somebody that has a lot of skills, you know that they are reading the horse. They know how to read the horse.
Yeah, we met when we're out at the End of the Road Ranch. We talked to Joanne Galbraith on an episode earlier We met out here because I use their arena, and I see you're working with two horses. Tell me a little bit about those horses that you're working right now.
Yeah, well, the first horse that it has, I have a little bit more time on it, is a Tennessee Walker horse that about for reading the teeth and checking the age, about 3 years old, more or less, right there. The lady want to do some trail riding, most of it. The horse has been very sensitive and very skittish, so I've been working, taking her out and just handle her on the ground, allow driving her and making her feel comfortable, and myself to, in every place on that horse,
Right.
in every area, touching it and driving and I'm being honest. I think it's important to be honest with the horse. I think they sense that. The horse tells you where they are, as you work with them.
This place is such a great location to take a horse out because the end of the road ranch has grapevines on one side, alfalfa fields on another side. I'm not sure what they're growing, some sort of silage right behind us
Silage,
here.
correct.
And I mean, you can go out on these farm roads and you can ride pretty much for as long as you want, right?
Yes, and use every obstacle. I personally believe in using every obstacle that you can find over there,
Right.
especially when the horse is afraid of. When you see those ears, going to that, stop there and work the horse and take the time so they can grow, mentally, taking that their brain, unlocking that brain,
Right.
that they don't feel, threatened, and they start thinking more than just being reactive.
What are some of the obstacles you've run into out here?
There are some
Garbage?
concrete, yeah. Unfortunately, it's people garbage, and that would be dead animals sometimes on the side of the road.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, right.
Unfortunately, that you find that. So by nature, the horse is wants to get out of that. They smell death.
Right.
With me, I just teach them to stay there with me. The horse is alert. That's okay because they're instincts. But I teach them to be alert. There is a canal too that when it's dry, you can go in the canal and then come up on the other side and work your way back. I take some trips to the river nearby, which is about 12 miles, I think, an area where you can trail ride alongside of the Kern River.
Right.
And you find a lot of the obstacles there, and you can get them, the horses, in the water, and also you can go up and down and some embankments too, some little cleft that you
Right.
can make your horse for their footing. And also I think a young horse, or any horse, but especially a young horse, needs to venture out. And as you are riding out there on the trail, you are working your horse. So at the beginning, it helps you to be very focused on it, because anything that horse does, it means something, and we
Right.
need to understand and read that the best possible to decide what are you going to do
Right.
with that in the moment, because it's in the moment. You are in the moment. The horse is in the moment, and you are in the moment. So you need to act in the moment, and not before, no after.
And what about the other horse you're working with?
The other horse is a horse that came about 3 weeks ago. The owner, which is a young lady, about 20 years old, and wants to learn about horses, they bought the horse, and it seemed like I was just started, but something along the way, wasn't quite right, because the young lady couldn't handle the horse on the ground. She never got to ride it, so when it came, I did check on the horse, and I decided just to start all over from zero on the horse.
Sometimes that's the best way, right?
I feel like it's because that way you're going through different things with the horse. They give you. I personally like to pick up their feet. Also see how skittish they are. How much can you handle them from the halter, leading them left, right, backing up, sideways, that they can stay put, ground tie them,
Right.
working with a pad, working with that saddle, or working with that, rope over the saddle, or a whip, that you can have to make a sounds with them, and what they call it here in United States, sack them out, put a bag or something, walk over it, and also flap it around. The sky is the limit with that, but the horse somehow will be telling you your next step, and I think that is crucial for us. Obviously, we will make mistakes, but as long as those mistakes are not that big, you can always just go back and try something this way and try
Right.
something the other way. So, because you got to get a hold of that mind, because a horse, even though if when you are a lot of lateral flexion at the beginning,
Right.
that we do on the ground, and then also on the horse, I feel that it's very important to get a hold of that nose or that head, bending, a lot of bending. But even though you do a lot of that, the horse can still maybe run off from you,
Yeah.
because they're powerful. They might stiff that neck, and
Yeah.
no matter how much you do for a while, they can go. But that's why it's important that you get that mind, and they come to you for the most that you can achieve with the horse. That will give you more to feel more safe, but no more that you are more of the leader, basically,
Right,
because
right,
you want to be the leader in their minds, and not just to be the leader by using the tools.
Are these two horses alike in personality, or are they different?
They are very different. One it's been very skittish. I've been doing a lot of things with that horse. I feel unlock that brain, but at the moment she is doing good, in the sense that if she's scared of something, like the other day I was riding by the canal, and a couple of ducks,
Right.
flew over the water and made that noise, and she just turned around and wanted to run, and I hold her and she stayed. That kind of thing, that as long as she's not backing or trying to run away and get startled out, I can handle that, and I hope that will get better, because I want the lady that bought that horse, that young horse, to be safe on the horse, and I
Right.
also feel that how can I learn more from that horse,
Right.
how I can get them that when that happen, it will be a less startle next time, things like that. It's and it's a quest, in the sense, like I just wanted to reiterate that it tells me where I am. Also, for me, it's not a job. It is a job and it's not, but because I take it that is directly related to who I am as a person right now, and the skills are there, and on one level, and you always getting them higher and better and better, and I don't think there is ending to that.
Right.
But it just shows me how I can handle the situation, which I feel that that will show later in how I can handle situations with humans,
Right.
too. For me, I take it that way.
Yeah.
I know that probably it's not related with horses with horses, but it is for me.
You've worked with horses in South America. You've traveled to Spain. Have you had adventures with horses in other parts of the country?
Another part of the country or another part of the world?
Or just tell us about your adventures.
Oh, okay, yeah. And I did a nice ride when I was young in Chile. That we went close to the border with Argentina, riding some horses over there. There was some races, match races, and then we went there and then watched the races a little. But then we ventured off for a couple of hours to ride in the country. That was interesting. In Spain, I did ride and work with horses on too. I did some Roman roads, old roads, that the Romans
Oh,
built,
really?
and it was interesting.
Wow.
For me, I like history, and going, over a bridge that has an scripture that it was, built on the bridge
Good
by
Lord.
Caesar Augustus, you know.
Oh my
You
gosh.
know, 2,000 years ago, you know, that's wow, you know, this is like, you know, this is history here.
Right.
And, you know, when you are on that, it make you feel contradictory feelings because you feel like, wow, you are under something important. At the same time, you feel that in your own life you have achieved so little. You know, this thing is still standing. It's 2,000 years old.
2,000 years
you
old.
know.
What have I done? Right?
You know, right. That's how it came to me. Riding in Utah, I used to go with a fellow when I came to study. I got lucky and I met this older cowboy that is passed on now, and he invited me in the southwest part of Utah to go and ride a couple of his horses. He had a young horse, and I said, you know, I can help you with a young horse. You know, he was older, and I'll ride the young horse, and you ride, you know, your older horse. So we trailed and went a couple of hours south of Salt Lake City and went into the mountains and saw some wild horses out there. It was beautiful, and that is the western southern part, you know, close to the border with Nevada.
Right.
And later on, I came to find out that, according to history, in Utah there used to be a tribe part of Utah, and I think it took part of Colorado and Arizona now, the Utes, and there was a great chief called Wakara that is said that it did the biggest raid of stealing horses from California approximately in the year 1840 when there was some missions here, the Spanish missions.
Right.
So they rounded up horses from San Diego to San Luis Obispo in different missions, and they said that they round them up and put it in different places near the Cajon Pass out there near the Apple Valley, and then they headed up to in the old Spanish Trail all the way to Utah with about 3,000 horses. And it says that they got over there with about 2,000 horses, but I cannot imagine. And according to the history, they said it's true. There was the chief and also an American fellow named Pegleg, I think, Smith. It was his name, according to the history that I read about.
Right.
And knowing that in that part of Utah, some of the horses, they have a lot of Spanish ancestry.
Right.
And a lot of people and historians are saying that some horses of those are remaining from those raids that they did, because they sold a lot into Santa Fe, New Mexico, because the old Spanish Trail come from what is, you know, Santa Fe and New Mexico, and then goes to the southern part of Utah, then Nevada, and then will come all the way south into Los Angeles. That was the old Spanish Trail, or the Santa Fe Trail, as is known today. You know, today. And there's people that I believe have done it, that whole trail, because I believe there are markers in Nevada and in California. There are markers. I haven't seen those markers. I only seen the markers in Utah, where there's a sign and it says the trail goes here.
Could you just imagine you're riding along with 2,000 other horses, trying to drive them? That's got to be 1,500 miles, right?
I would. By car from Los Angeles to Salt Lake City is about 700 miles, but if you're going in a trail and all of that, it will be a lot more. But I think the logistics of it, you know, the water, and I think the vaqueros, the Spanish and Mexican vaquero, at that point it was Mexico already. You know that California was, Mexico became in 1821 became, you know, part of Mexico. So it wasn't Spanish California, you know, but it was all in there because the people, you know, just they changed citizenship, but it was the people, you know.
Right.
And I think the logistics to do all that, you know, the logistics to round it up, steal it in this mission, put it in that place, strategic place, and steal it from that until they have it all, and then let's go. And figure out the ones that you can ride.
Right.
So the vaqueros were never going to catch with them because the Indians had, you know, the whole thing is a remuda. You know, the whole thing is a remuda. They can switch horses and keep going, and whatever is no, you know, it can't keep up, it will be left behind, and let's go. You never catch them. So I thought it would be, in the logistics, it would be an interesting, you know, film to make.
Yeah.
You know,
imagine
that story. You know,
what a
when
great
I read
story.
it, I was fascinated with that, and according to what I had read and talked to people, they say it's true. You know, because sometimes you can't believe everything.
Right. So, Dom, I understand that you took a ride from Los Angeles to Lake Isabella. Isn't that almost 200 miles?
Well, yeah, John, is close to it. Estimation is about 175 miles
Wow. Oh
on
my
that
gosh.
trail from northern Los Angeles. We started, it's the Pacific Crest Trail that travels or
Right.
goes from the border with Mexico to 160 something miles into Canada.
Okay. So,
You know.
and that's all open trail. So, and public can ride on this trail.
Right, and in fact, you know, it's taken care by people and organizations. You know, so a lot of the hikers they can do that trail on foot or on horseback. You know,
And how did you
or
come?
on burro back? You know, mule back.
How did you come to make that trip?
Well, you know, I didn't carry my horse on my back, but the horse carried me. A friend of mine, you know, wanted to do a sort of the old west kind of thing and traveling with a horse. And so I decided to get a couple of the horses that I had, and we planned the trip from northern Los Angeles on that particular trail to close to Lake Isabella. Not quite to Lake Isabella, a little bit farther south. But so we did it in 7 days, the 175 miles, and 7 days and 6 nights. Just 2 horses, no a packing horse.
Right.
So you know you had your bedroll, and we had some grain for the horses, which it lasted like 3 or 4 days only.
Right.
And then we had to graze them, you know, in the evenings and in the mornings because it was still grass up in the mountains. You know, it's not a high altitude.
Right.
So it was interesting. We did it in July, which is a little hot out there.
Yes. Yeah.
And we ran into some problems with water, which luckily for the horses, we found the water for them because, you know, once that they get dehydrated, you know, it's
hard
a
to get 'em back.
dangerous zone,
Right.
you know.
So you had to come out of Los Angeles. And
Right, I rode on the 14, the Freeway 14 that comes out of the 405 and the 5 there, northern Los Angeles by the San Fernando Valley where it started, into Lancaster and sort of around Agua Dulce, the turn off to get off to Agua Dulce or Vasquez Rocks. Right before that, I went in a road that I can't remember now, but there is an exit there. And I went east, and that's where I will find the trail that will be coming. I couldn't pick it up farther south and the other side of the San Gabriel Mountains, because it goes over the San Gabriel Mountains, which is the northern eastern part of Los Angeles, and then it goes into a sort of east direction and then south again into Mexico.
Okay.
So, but I picked it up a few miles north of the San Fernando Valley, so to say, in Los Angeles, and from there to a few miles south of Lake Isabella, you know, where it will continue going up, you know, in the Sierras and all of that, and through the other, you know, states until you get to Canada.
And so when you're riding all through Antelope Valley, Palmdale, Lancaster area.
Yeah, you cross the 138. It does crosses the 138.
Yeah, and that's all high desert.
Yeah.
That's pretty dry area.
Pretty dry area, and what it was sort of, I'm looking for the word, sort of like, I don't have the word, but sorry, but we stayed there one night off of the 138. There is a place where a lot of the hikers, because most of the hikers that do this in 6 months walk from one end, south end of the country to the north end of the country on the trail, they start in April.
Right.
Okay, and they got to be finished by October because of the snow farther north. Okay, so but we went in July, so the trail was completely alone. You know, we didn't encounter anybody on the trail.
Wow.
You know, nobody, no a hiker. We saw some tracks of people that had been there, but we didn't cross path with anybody.
Wow.
We found different places, you know, coming on the Los Padres, no, it's not Los Padres, Los Angeles National Forest, you know, from crossing the 14, because you get off on the 14 and you go east, and then you pick up the trail, and then you cross the 14 freeway, and then you go into through Agua Dulce. It goes through Agua Dulce, and then it crosses the Sierra Highway, and you get into the Los Angeles forest coming up north there. The part that I was going to mention was that on the 138, which is the ending part or the west part of the desert right there where Lancaster is, if you can help me with the name of it. It's
the Mojave Desert.
The Mojave Desert, thank you. The western part of the Mojave Desert, right there, that part of the 138 where the trail is still considered the west end of the desert.
Right,
you know?
right. And then
go alongside of the aqueduct.
Right.
And you had that aqueduct that at that point, at the beginning, it was in a lot of the sections you can't get because it's concrete.
Yes.
And you can't go. You have that water.
Right.
But you can't get to it. And then there is some sort of siphons or wells next to that you can lift a little gate, and then you will find water down there.
Right.
But they were all locked. They have a lock. So you can't open it and get water down there either. Right. So you're walking alongside because the trail goes alongside of a big section north of the 138, coming north into the Tehachapi Mountains through that aqueduct, but you can't get to the water.
My goodness.
So that was like, okay, we had the water, but we don't.
Yeah, right.
And fortunately, we did okay. Close to the Tehachapi Mountains, we found a faucet that it was left there in a little creek. We opened it and we could get water from there.
Oh, good.
We stay in that part of the desert. I decided to do it early in the morning. That day, to cross that most of the desert in one day, we started at 4 a.m. And then rode until about 11, and then rest. Found an area in a creek to rest. And until about 5 p.m., we rest for about 5 or 6 hours where we found water, still cool. There was some trees and an underpass of a creek that is a dry creek. And then we finished to get to the south part of the Tehachapi Mountain and found another spring where to spend the night. But that's the way that we approached that section of the Mojave Desert.
How close did you get to Lake Isabella?
I will venture from Lake Isabella. It'll be probably about at least 25 miles.
25 miles. Did you see any wildlife there?
We saw some deer. I found some bear tracks. But there are black bear there.
Right.
I hope because as far as I know, the only grizzly remaining is the one on the flag of California. There is no more grizzlies here, luckily. So, but other than that, and some coyotes and falcons. And, other than that, we didn't encounter mountain lions. Didn't see any tracks of it, but they sure probably see us, and we didn't see them.
Right. What a great ride.
7 days and 6 nights. It was interesting to see the country that way.
From there,
From that point of view. And I think one of the things that I got out of that too, that if I am walking because we did pretty much all a walk,
Right.
If I'm taking in all this all this scenery, whatever is coming at me, at a walk of a horse, in a walking horse, that also when we're teaching and working with the horse, how much can he take in at the beginning and the middle and the finish stages one particular speed.
Right.
Because it's so much coming at you.
Yeah.
That will be depending on if you're working outside, if you're working in the arena, how that can be related. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And so by the end of that trip, how different were your horses from the beginning?
Well, I think they were a little tired. Though we walk, we treated them the best that we could. But I wonder if they were thinking, my gosh, how long
Right.
we're gonna keep riding every day? Though we're walking, and we will probably ride 8 to 10 hours, a day, And
That's a great story. I'm glad we got that in.
yeah, beautiful country. I encourage anybody to see. I cannot imagine how it will be going into the Sierras.
Yeah.
The scenery must be breathtaking going into the Sierras
I
on
bet
that
it
trail.
is. So, and anything else? So you've ridden the roads of Rome. You've ridden in Utah, southern Utah.
Southern Utah, and then I did one of the other things. I did a group of people, two ladies actually. They decide to do a ride from mission to mission. There's 22 missions
Right.
in the Alta California, so from San Diego all the way to Sonoma. They decide to ride on horseback from mission to mission, as it said, it used to be in the old times.
Right, because the missions were one day's ride away from
It
each
says
other.
to be that, but I think in some places, having ridden it, it could be more than that. Now they have put some belts on the road, the Royal Road they call it, the Camino Real
Right.
Royal Road. They did it in 2 years, riding from Sonoma to San Diego. Took off in the summertime, summer and autumn. So I came to the second year. They rode from Sonoma to the mission of San Miguel, near San Luis Obispo. Yeah, that
Right,
mission. So
right.
they rode from the north to that, and then the next year they did the second leg from San Miguel to San Diego. So I came for the second leg from San Miguel to San Diego, and we did that a little bit over. In about 40 days, for a month, I think we did it because, we will stay some days in some places because the logistic that you have to do, you can't do it how it was because now there is private property, there is fences, there is freeways, you got to ask for permissions if you can go through here. So it's not like the open land like it used to be. So you can't follow exactly the route.
So how did you do that?
I was one of the riders, I was being with my passion for the history of California. It comes a little bit because I grew up in a sort of mission-like type of home back in Chile that it was built by the Spanish, So when I came to the United States and I saw the mission for the first time, it took me way back to Spain and back to Chile too. Because the same sort of quadrangle, the older houses over there in Chile, they are built that way. There's a quadrangle and you have a corridor outside and a corridor inside.
Right.
So it reminds you of that immediately. But anyway, in doing that, you have the riders, and then you have another crew that will ride the trailers for the horses. So some areas you cannot ride, so you got to trailer a section, and then
you can ride.
According to the map and what you saw for that particular day and all of that, then keep going,
And how many riders were there?
There was about 8 to 10 riders that were, and the ladies that were doing this ride, because the passion of riding horses, they saw my interest with the vaquero culture, and so I was dressed in the old customs of the Californians of that time, which I made myself. I had to make the saddle close to what it was, the clothing, because those particular type of equipment, not all of it is used today. They use a particular type of boot that they have, particular type of chaps that they had, and the hat. I even made the hat out of leather. So it taught me a lot of other things and the passion for that. So one of the things that I really like about that was the mission in La Purísima, which is near Lompoc. I don't know if you ever visit that mission, but it's isolated out there, and it probably tells you the way it was then, because some of the missions are in the middle of the city, you don't get that feeling. But over there in La Purísima, and there is other ones farther north, like San Antonio de Padua too, which is near San Miguel. That it's in the east side of the Hertz Castle. Randall Hertz, it used to own a lot of the land on the other side by the ocean, but it came very close to what the mission was. There is a road that goes from Santa Ynez off of the 101, and you go into the mountains, that mountain range, and you can see the ocean, and you can see the Santa Ynez River on one side. And I found that beautiful Camino al Cielo, and that is the area
Yes,
that will
yeah.
take you to where Ronald Reagan Ranch is.
Right,
The
right.
Ronald Reagan Ranch is over there. You know, that was a surprise for me because I didn't know that was there where he will retreat and
Right.
and be there. You know, so riding that section of the road, Camino al Cielo, and that mountain range, and you can see the ocean, and then you can see the valleys and the Santa Ynez River to your north part. I consider it really beautiful to do that and see that out there is beautiful.
What a
You
great
see,
way to see the country.
you know, amazing. You could see we were riding, and I will look down into Santa Barbara down there, and I will see one of those cruisers.
Oh, right,
You know, I
right.
see the modern over there. We're riding over here, and at the distance into Santa Ynez, you know, I have a pair of binoculars, and I will look, and I could see some people down below with some cows moving them, and so I could see riding that, and then
Right,
you know,
right.
the cruiser over there, you know, with
And
full of people.
Probably off in the distance you could see the Channel Islands too.
Yes,
Saturday, right?
yes, beautiful. Which I never been to, but one day I would like to
Yeah.
to go. I heard that they used to have some, I think, a bison over there in those islands or
Right,
something.
yeah, and
Used to, I don't know if they do, but
And there are some horses still, I believe, on Santa Cruz Island.
island or cattle. I don't know if it was bison or cattle that they have.
Yeah,
at one point.
I think somebody was running cattle over there.
Yeah,
There's-
but yeah, and all of that I was able to do is because of the horse.
Right.
You know, so that's and doing that took me more passion for this, and also I came to learn, as I was mentioning to you the other day, that according to the findings, the horse did originated, you know, over 50
Right.
million years ago in this land here in North
Right.
America. So it's originated here according to what they have found. The scientific founds, no other place in the world, right here.
Right.
So even more so, we are in the land of the horse.
So, in your career, in your horsemanship career, has there been one horse that you learned so much from? That
There have been several horses, you know, that probably I hope that if they could talk, they will say, well, this guy tried to do his best, and we have a good relationship, you know. That's what I would like for a horse to say about me. And you know, when I was in Chile, I have a nice white horse that was part Arabian and part Chilean horse, you know. And I did a lot of things with that horse. I remember that. And there was another horse too that used to go up into the mountains to catch those mustangs, you know, those
Right.
mesteños, you know,
right,
out there, and you got to rope them out there, you know, and there will be pine trees, and then a big clear, and you hope in that clear you can at least get close enough, which a lot of the times were done with what they call it in California, the reata larga, you know, the long, because you can reach more, you know.
Right,
And
right.
it was for the wind down there, you use for your loop, because a lot of the time it's windy, you use a ring. You use a heavy ring, so that way when you throw, the wind will not.
throw it back on you.
Right.
So instead of a regular Hondo.
Hondo, it will
You
be
use
a ring, you know. It will it will be a rope, or also could be a reata, you know,
Right.
made out of leather, you know, too. So it will depend and what is your preference. But the ring, you know, they consider down very important on that because of the weight that adds to it. So, and over here I have a stallion that it comes from Spanish ancestry, and that horse, I work with him, and I've been able to teach him, you know, the Spanish walk. He can stretch when I mount him. He can sit, lay down
Uh-huh.
with me, or from the ground, you know, things like that. And I want to teach him other things, you know. It's so that is, he's been a very noble horse, and it's all Spanish in his breeding. you
Very
know.
cool.
You know, so those been the horses that I can somehow remember, and they make me a better person. You know, that's to me, it's very important. That's one of the things when I feel that I cannot, you know, become better through the horse. I guess I will leave the horse, you know, because there will be nothing that I can offer. You know?
Right. Well, this has been a lot of fun, Dominic. I'm so glad that we sat down together and got to hear a little bit of your history and some of your stories and your philosophy on horses and humans. That's been really a lot of fun.
Well, we are humans, I don't know how exactly, I would like to know how the horses see us, other than a predator. But I just wanted to thank you, John, for this. And also, I feel very privileged to have a friend on Joanne here and on the whole crew.
Well, thank you.
That are here in this location where we are at now.
Great. Is there anything else that you wanted to bring up?
I think that to whoever is interested in horses, there is always the next day.
Right.
There is always the next day, but just take it as your last day as well. It's that sort of that academy. That is
right.
There is another day, but also today.
Treat it like your last.
Is the day
yes.
too. It's always there.
Right.
One day will be the last day. There is no way around that. But in order to that relationship become better, through that the skills get better, I believe, and also other people can get more enthusiastic
right.
about what they are doing with horses, and whether they know it or they are not aware of, or they are aware of, indirectly, I feel that we have the opportunity, whether we take it or not, that is up to us to become better humans
right.
through the horse.
What a great philosophy.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Dominic.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So if people want to find out more about you, Dominic, or contact you, where can people find you?
Well, I have my phone most of the time when I am on the horse, because I try to spend most of the time on the horse and no under. If you know what is that like. So my phone number is 661-363-9149. If you ever have a question or anything related to horses, please give me a call and I'll be glad to be there.
Very good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That will do it for this episode. I really enjoyed this visit with Domenico Sumonte. We've had a few conversations between work and our horses, and he has led a very interesting life. Dom loves history and is knowledgeable on California lore. When I watch him work horses, he's thoughtful and deliberate. And you can tell he really respects the horse. Thanks, Dom, for sitting down with me for an hour and sharing just a little bit of your story. As always, if you'd like to share a story or experience about your horse or suggest a guest, let's hear it. Send an email to john@whoapodcast.com or connect with me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram under the name Whoa Podcast. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for listening and sharing the podcast with your friends and riding buddies. Until next time, for Renee, this is John Hare saying, go have some fun with your horses. Bye-bye, everybody.